everyone, welcome to the next video for our owl post room page. We're going to do some of the finer details today. I have decided where I am going to start, so let's come in a little closer to the bottom. I thought I would start with our little wooden cart here. Now I thought rather than doing it as if it were brown wood, I would do it as if it was slightly painted, because I felt that that would brighten that area of the page a little bit. So I'm trying to think what colour. I mean, it looks like a little kiddie's cart to me in that it would be a really bright primary colour, but actually it isn't, is it? So I think maybe we need a more neutral type colour. So I'm thinking maybe a sort of green, maybe this green might work. So this is the earth green yellowish, which I actually told you was that. That isn't the earth green yellowish. We used the colour there, which was the, I think it's called olive green yellowish. But anyway, I got it wrong. Sorry, it doesn't matter that much. This is a pretty colour. So a green. Now I'm thinking I might sort of make it a bit darker in some areas than others, because I'm thinking it could be old and faded. A little bit, maybe it might be bumped on the corners and edges a little bit. I'm going to make sure it's directional colouring here because it's wood, so we might see a few hints of grain through those. In fact, I might just put some lines across to make it look a bit more wood grainy. And then I'm going to sharpen now to a fine point, because we can see the inside in areas where I think it would be a lot more intense and dark, and you can get that with a sharp pencil. Not quite so dark on that end as on the edge. There we go. I'm trying to decide whether to have matching wheels. I think we will. Make it darker in there as if there's a little hole in there. I think that's a wheel as well, and I've coloured over that bit in brown, but would just go over it in a green, and you know, it's just shady under there, so it doesn't matter. The string would do a slightly different colour. I think we can do it a little bit darker. We've got the chromium green opaque. Just going to give it a sharpen. So there it is. You can't see the name anyway. And just work along. Oops. You could do it lighter and darker in some areas. It's quite a narrow thing, so I'm not sure it's necessary. It's quite tricky enough to keep in the lines for me as it is. Now around these holes there's this. Now this could either be like an aglet like you get on a shoe to protect the hole, or it could be supposed to be a little dark area looking through, which is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to take a really dark green. I think this chrome oxide green is probably going to do, and give it a sharpen. You could use a black or a dark sepia as well. But it's trying to give the impression that that is inside, and we're looking into the sort of gloomy inside of the cart. So there's our cart. Next I'm going to do this little ball of string here. Now I had initially thought, you know, string in a post room, it's going to be just a sort of brown, but I think we should do it a colour so we can see it. So everything that's tied with string will be tied with this string. I know that isn't how it works, but let's just pretend and make it a sort of nice colour. We could do blue. I'm thinking this blue, the cobalt blue-greenish, and we'll do the ball of string first. I'm going to try and make it look a little bit more spherical by making it darker around the edge like that. So I'm building those layers up, and then a bit less in the middle like that, and then I need to go over that bit even though it's very thin so you can see it. And now every item that's got string on is going to have this colour string. And I'm beginning to think that maybe I should limit my colour palette and bring in this red, this green and this blue only. I'm pondering that idea as I go through. I'm just checking what we've got that's got string on up here. So this looks a very important piece of parchment, doesn't it? See, there's a little mini string on there I'm gonna do. Got one on the bottle. There's a one higher up, you can't see, on this parcel here. See, I'm not sure whether doing too much of a limited colour might look a bit too contrived, or whether it might just work. I'm going to do this key while I'm here, because otherwise I think I'm going to forget. And I'm going to try and make it look silvery. So I'm going to use my Paynes grey, and I'm going to start here and do this quite intensely dark near the foot or claw, and then quickly fade it. I'm going to do it dark here and here. I'm going to leave a little gap there and a little gap there to hopefully imitate shine, and the same with that a little bit. I'm going to leave a gap in the middle. Here I'm going to do it dark at each side with a gap in the middle. Same here, a bit on the end and a gap there, and then on this main bit put darker bits on the edge. There we go. I don't know how well it stands out, but I wanted to make it darker than these greys up on the window so it stands out a little bit. Okay, now where are we going? I know, let's go back down here. Here, just there, we have a little thing that looks to me like a sort of stamp, like they use in the post office to put the date on things. And so I'm going to colour this with the Paynes grey. I'm going to try and make it look like a little bit shiny, like it might be a metallic item. And I'm also going to fill in that bit at the back there on that brick. Anyway, there's that. Now I'm wondering whether to make every stamp that's on the parcels and sticker, whether to make them all the same colour, or whether that's just going to look a bit weird. I want to make them all the same colour. I've decided I'm going to come out. I'm going to pull my book down so you can see them all. I think you can now. Yeah. And I'm going to do every postmark, every stamp, everything in a red. Okay. I'm just going to pick one. It's not going to be the same, exactly the same red as that. Maybe slightly. Oops. I'm just trying to grab it. It wants to roll away. This is the pale geranium lake. Okay. I'm going to start here. It's not going to be on the labels, just on the stamps. I do remember when first class stamps were this sort of colour. Now some of them have got bits around the edges. I'm just going to colour all of them the same. Now you might not want to do this, or you might want to wait and see how it looks before you decide. That's absolutely fine. I'm not sure myself how well it's going to work, but it's just like I've got to do something. Now I've got a lot down here. I can hear my washing machine spinning. It's so loud. just underneath me, I suppose. I can do these arrows as well on this one, on those bits. There's a lot going on this little table, isn't there? I wonder why those letters are in that card, but other ones aren't. I'm going to treat that bit as if it's the stamp. Like that. I've got one on there. I think I've got them all, but I may not have done. My next task is to do all the labels. And I'm thinking, might do those in a light shade of blue. Oh no, the string's blue. We need green, don't we? What should we do shade? Let's go for this. Just sharpen out my washing machine beeping. It's going to have to wait. This is the grass green. I'm going to use this for every label on every letter. Oops. There's the end. Oh, my husband's going to sort it out. He probably just open the door and leave it for me to sort, which is fine. He can't. He's got bad back. He shouldn't be bending down to the machine. Now, these boxes have got like little things there. That one's got a label on there. Now this has got a label. I'm still going to colour it even though it's not a letter. I just want it to be consistent really. Might look odd, I don't know. That's sellotape. We need to do some tape. Sticky tape I should call it, not sellotape. Sellotape being a brand name, sticky tape not. Not that I've got, not that it matters if I advertise really. As long as I tell you, I suppose, if I was sponsored, but I'm not. I'm not sponsored by Sellotape. That'd be weird. Oh, that's tape. That's a label, and that's a label. Okay, now for the tape, we've got a reel of tape here as well. It's always quite difficult to know what colour to do tape. I struggle, but I think I'm going to use this colour, which is light yellow glaze, because tape can be yellow. I don't have any in here to show you, but it's usually a little bit more orangey, but it if I did that, it would be too dark. So I'm just going to quickly run through these and have a look and see where there's tape being used, and none so far. There's a bit there, a bit there, I'm sure there's some there, that's the one. Oh, there's a lot on this one. I think that's it. And this looks like a little pad of sticky notes, post-its. I can do it the same colour, but build it up a bit so it's a little bit more intense. There we go. Now, I'm trying to think hard about letter colour and parcels. I'm thinking I might colour all the parcels in green gold, which looks a little bit like craft paper, a little bit. You have to use your imagination, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do them, I'll show you a base of this colour first, then think about which is going to be darker. The top is this bit's being shadowed by the letter, so we'll put a little bit darker there, but actually I think got the window, the light's going to be coming there, so this side's going to be the darkest. So adding an extra layer of colour, and this side's going to be fairly dark, not as light as the top, like that. And then same with this one. So shade it all in first and then have a think. It's not quite pointing towards the window, but I still think that's going to be darker. This is going to be, lighter than this, and this will be the darkest. Now if you want to be really fancy, you can think, well, it will probably be a lot darker at the bottom than the top. We could fade it up, but I'm trying to keep it fairly simple and fun, or else we'll be spending 10 years on each one, which is quite a long time. So I'm going to colour that one a bit darker, just another layer. We've got two here, so we'll do this one first, and I'm thinking the top's going to be lighter, so I'll just pop an extra layer on there. Then this one. And again, top lighter, this side the darkest, so layer it up quite a lot. Then this one slightly lighter, then this one. Now it's quite quick if you use the same colour for lots of things, which is another reason that I like doing it. If I had to pick a different colour for each one, I could be here all day, and I think it would get rather tedious, and I want to make it fun for me. I hope it's fun for you too. So that's why I've decided to limit my colours like this. So this side darker, this side not as light as somewhere in between. And again, this side darker. That one actually might be quite dark because it's the shadow in there, so I've made it a bit darker. I'm going to keep this one a bit lighter, I think, just so it looks a bit different. So there are our parcels from that shelf. Now we've got these boxes. I'm going to treat them as if it's a parcel. They could be books, actually, looking at that one, but it's too late now. So I'm just going to colour it as if it's a parcel. That, I think, is a parcel. I couldn't tell to start with whether it was a letter with its sort of flap open, and the same with this one, but why would it be? So I decided to colour it as a parcel. And this one. Darker there, slightly darker here. Now these are like rounded parcels. I'm still going to treat them in the same way. So a bit lighter on the top, like that. A bit more colour here. Now the one underneath would probably be significantly darker if you wanted to fiddle around for longer with it. I'm going to make this envelope here this colour, because I'm thinking, I can imagine it being like a buff colour, which this isn't really, but you know, that's what I'm thinking. So this one a little bit darker, and then this one significantly darker. Now it wouldn't necessarily be light on the top because it's in the cubby, but I still think it might be a bit lighter. I don't know. Now are those letters or parcels? Probably letters. We'll leave those. We've got this door. Now I'm wondering whether to do the door this colour. I am going to, because it sort of hides it, and the idea is we're hunting, so if we can hide it in here, it might be quite tricky to find. Like the key is quite camouflaged as well, so if someone was having a look and wanting to find them, it wouldn't be very obvious. I mean, you might feel that through your book you want to make them stand out rather than hidden, but I quite like hiding things like Johanna's things, the treasure hunting items. I did in Enchanted Forest, I think she had various hidden signs. I used to try and blend them into the colours around them so it was harder to see them. Thought it was fun, and also it sometimes they didn't really go with the picture, so it meant that I could, they would be more hidden. I'm going to make this label just a really light version of this. Getting through, aren't we? It's quite a quick way to colour these all without, you know, when you've got a page like this that's so full of little details, I think that's a whole pile of parcels that are quite thin. Yeah, it just makes it feel less daunting. I've sort of made some lighter and some darker just so that you can sort of make out that there are separate things in there. I'm trying to think about what this bottle is. I do the label, but what would be in that? Do you think ink? I'm wondering. It'd be a bit old-fashioned to have an ink in a bottle, but then we are in Harry Potter land, are we, with these owls? So maybe they use ink, don't they? So I might do that, or it might just be magic. But I don't know how to draw magic. Can you see down here? You can. I think the top again will be the lightest here. Oh, we've got one behind here, haven't we? I'm not sure what this is supposed to be resting on. It just seems to be hanging in the air. But anyway, it's maybe it's just the magic. Maybe there's something under here that I couldn't work out. Now, here we've got a tube, like a postal tube. I'm going to colour that very slightly differently. Still use this colour. But I'm going to make this edge a bit darker and this edge, and just bring that colour in a bit so that we've got a lighter bit in the middle and it makes it look a little bit more rounded. That's drawn at a funny angle, isn't it? And it's quite hard to do the cube perspective thing because that's further away. That's quite tricky. Johanna's done very, very well, but I wouldn't want to draw that. I'm better at drawing squares and cubes than I would be at anything else though, to be honest. You can use a ruler. But no. I'm going to put a little bit there as if that's shading it a bit. We've got this one. This round one. Do a light layer first. And then try and make it a little darker on the edges. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil. I think although we could have used brown ochre or something like that, I think the goldy colour gives it a really nice warmth and it does stand out. I think now looking at the picture, things stand out a little bit more. Which is what I wanted. I do think we might have to colour in all the envelopes. I'm still no idea. So we'll see. We'll get there in a minute. My brain will tick a solution. Now this has got little holes in. Do you think there's a little critter in there that needs to breathe? Did you put it in the post? Johanna, what were you thinking? I'm going to just darken those little holes with the darker brown. The burnt umber. Sorry, I realise I'm zoomed quite far out, but I hope you can see. There we go. They need to look like we're looking into a dark box, because you can see it's dark here. And now I can darken this side a little bit and this front. Oh, there we go. only got a few left. There's that one. This looks like it's a thin parcel. I'm going to colour it as a parcel. I think if I don't, I might just forget it. Got a label there, really light. But we'll do this side with an extra layer. And we'll be able to see that that label and tape are a little bit lighter than this. Now we're going to do this tube like the other one. So colour it down, whoops, and then make it darker on the edges. So it looks a little bit more rounded. Okay, now I'm having a little scan to see what's left. All the letters basically. And the bottle. And this filing tray here. I'm going to colour this filing tray in a dark grey so that it looks similar-ish to the bricks and greys that we've got already rather than introducing a new colour. I'm going to use warm grey 6, it's quite dark, but I'm going to use it lightly to start with and then darken certain bits. I think the base might be shadowed on the edges from the sides, if that makes sense. And the inside might be a bit darker than the outside. There we go. That's that one. And I'm going to use this warm grey 6 to also do these little screws that are holding up our shelf. We've got one here that's holding up the sellotape and a door. Just going to put some stripes on there to make it look glassy, like a little glass window there. That's a good idea. Anyway, I shall keep that idea to myself and ponder it for a moment. Okay, letters. I've decided that I'm going to do the letters in a very light blue colour and make them all the same, because if you think about it, we've done red stamps, we've done a bits of green, and we've done blue, a little bit of blue for the string, but that's on the parcels, the letters don't have blue on. So I'm thinking if I just get a really light blue, maybe the one we used for the sky actually, no, a slightly darker one. Let's use the light ultramarine. It's the same sort of tone as the sky. And I'm going to do all the letters that colour and we're going to see if it works. I just feel that looking at them now, white, it's just not working for me. So I'm just going to put a really light layer on, but I want it to look slightly darker than the sky through the window, which I think it does. Now you could of course leave them white if that feels better to you. Have a look at that and think. For me, that's blended it back into the background a little bit, so it's not really standing out. So I'm not sure if it's a good idea, but I'm going to go with it and I'm going to shade some of them a bit more. So this one we're looking at the back, and there where I think there'd be some shadow. This one I'm going to do quite even. Now I'm never sure on an envelope whether there'd be a bit of shadow under here, but I think it's quite dark from just the line that's there already, so I don't think we need it. But on this one I'll put a bit in, and on this one, so where in there, where it's sort of the parcels in front are going to be creating a bit of a shadow. Now I'm going to make these papers blue as well, just so that it all ties up really. Put a little bit of shadow in around them a bit like that, and this piece. I'm going to just draw that bit in darker, whatever it is. Now here we've got a letter behind a letter, so I'm going to make that one darker that's behind, and the same on this one. So just a light layer and then a bit behind. You can choose whatever colour you want for your letters. You might want to do them, I don't know, in a more browny colour like craft paper. They might get lost in this cubby though. You might want to change the cubby to red so that they show up or something, I don't know. That one I'm thinking, I don't know, I was thinking that add a bit more colour on the backs of those. I think these would be a bit darker the further inside the cubby they are, because it's dark in the back there. Now I've got this whole sack, so I'm going to do them all firstly with the light layer. Just checking how we're doing for time, but we'll finish it today. So there's our light layer. And then I'm going to do a little bit darker where they're along the edge of the sack, and then where any of them overlap, put a little line of sort of shadow. Don't have to, but I think it just makes them look a little more three-dimensional. Now our parchment, I'm going to make it a little bit darker at the bottom. Make it look like it's catching the light a tiny tad. Now, got this letter peeking out here. Get a little bit darker there. In our little cart, I don't know what to call it. So the ones behind are going to have a dark line on them. If it ends up with the whole thing being darker, like mine has, it doesn't really matter. Let's go up onto the table. Do where they're overlapping a little bit darker. There we go. Oh, these. There we go. And we've got a few in the cubbies that I didn't do. This one. Like that. And then these two. Darker at the back. Now I am just thinking that I quite like the idea that the letters the owls are holding stand out a bit more, so I'm going to make them darker. I'm just going to go over them in another layer. Just going over them, make them a little bit darker. There we go. Hoping this will draw your eye up a little bit maybe. So our sack's quite dark, it sort of draws you in. We've got our bottle left. I think that's it, apart from a little extra touch at the end. So I was saying I want to do it ink, like ink. Where is it? The dark indigo is probably the best colour for ink. So I'm going to just fill that up, but I'm not going to push down too hard and make it too dark. But because it's ink, we wouldn't see through it. Now we've got a stopper. What should we use? We use the burnt sienna for the stopper. Like that, and we'd see the stopper through there. So that's that. And now I was talking about, I had this idea for the window. It's going to be an experiment and it may not work. Remember I put a few lines on that little door to make it look like glass? I'm going to do that with this. So rather than using a white pen to indicate shine, I'm going to use a dark pencil. Like that, keeping it all in the same direction if I can, at the same sort of angle. just to sort of make it look like there's some sort of, you know, you're looking through glass rather than it just being blank. So that's that. And the other thing, I'm going to grab a white pen. I got one here, that's quite a big one, that'll do. And I thought I might do a few touches on the owls. So I'm just in some of the darker areas, just add a few bits of white, not on the around the eyes, just to make it look a little bit more feathery here and there, not too much. And hopefully it will help to draw attention to them a little bit more, which is what I wanted. And you don't have to do this if you don't have a white or you don't think it's necessary. But sometimes it can just add to that furry look, feathery look, I suppose. It's not fur, is it? So just here and there. You could also use it to put some shine on the beak if you wanted, or on the feet. But I think I'm going to just leave that. So it's just here and there, little bits, and then we'll be nearly done. We're just going to, I haven't done any on the tail, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do a bit of shine on our bottle. There we go. And last, on the window, where I've done that dark, I'm going to put a light mark behind it. Again, you have to do this. It would have been better if my lines had been straight, but hey. There we go. So it is finished, I think. I'm just going to have a really good look and make sure I haven't missed any little elements. The spider's web, you could go over with a silver pen. Sometimes I do that. I'm not going to because we haven't got any other silver. You could go over it with a white, but again, I think it looks okay as a black. I'm quite happy with it like that. So there it is, all finished. So thank you so much for watching. We're a bit a funny angle, aren't we? I think the camera's at a funny angle actually, I'm not sure. Anyway, never mind. But thank you for watching. I hope you have a lovely day and happy colouring.